Well, guys, I'm usually behind the camera, not wanting to come in front of it. So what do you guys want to know?
Yeah.
So, pretty much the stories you were telling us, whatever you're comfortable sharing. I know you can't. I know you
just come in
yeah,
here.
Yeah.
I know you lived in it. I know you lived a different lifestyle, and God led you out of it and led you to something better. So I guess if you could just tell us and everybody what that was like and what happened.
Well, growing up, I started out in the church and everything, and like I was telling you guys, seeing how certain churches were for me, it led me to kind of go astray from the church. It's not like I actually want to stay involved in that, because I was seeing, in my mind as a kid, we're very influential, and as I was growing up, it was like, I don't know if I want to be like these people, not understanding that we all are going to have our own way, our own path in life. But I was just assuming, because the church shows you some kind of way and everybody acts this way, and as you see them as they get older, they all have like a group of people that congregate together after church, or during church, or they sit together and do all this, and you're like, okay, this is how they're gonna be. So I know as I get older, I'm gonna fall into this, and that's not how I want it to be, because they would eventually start talking about each other and doing all this, spreading rumors. And
that was similar to me. Like that was very similar to what I saw growing up, and I was like, I don't
want to be like this. Yeah. And so as that, I was, you go, like I said, you go away from the church, and then the streets start to consume you. So you grow up seeing all different kinds of people that kind of influence you, and you say, okay, well, they're doing this, they're living this type of way, I want to be kind of like that. And so you start going down this path of just danger. And like one of the other guys brought to my mind, like a word that I rarely would use is wickedness. You know what I mean? I never looked at it like that, but it was all, for me, it was a learning experience, Like I said, I've been through a lot. I don't even know where to begin.
What about
I think you don't have to tell the whole thing.
Yeah.
You could just say what you're comfortable with, and you could even start from what you told us. How about
even producing here? You could start with
I'll fast forward to like what led me to California. Let's put it like that. So I moved from the East Coast out to Denver, Colorado. And in Denver, I stayed there for about 10 years, and I got into a lot of mischief, with some people that, I was kind of like a nerdy kid, you know what I mean? I was into school, everything, graduated, got out of school, and then I met some people who were in the streets, you know what I mean? And they were, I would hang out with them due to family, and that's who we all hung out with, and that's the life that I started to consume. Yeah. And as I was hanging out with them, I learned a lot about how to navigate through the streets and through life, the way that I thought it was supposed to be.
And how old were you then? Like, and
at that time, I was probably about 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was 22, and I was hanging out with a couple guys who were a little bit older than me, so they knew, the ins and outs of life, and they would show me the club and how to,
do all that,
do all kind of craziness. You know what I mean? And so, so learning from them, it was about 10 years of this type of lifestyle, just learning all the way how to navigate through the streets. And from there, I had gotten into trouble so many times out there, and I went to jail, and then I got out, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this no more. I got to get out of this place, because I think I'm not going to make it living out here.
Yeah.
So I decided to move over to Las Vegas. And I have a brother out there, so I was like, okay, I'll be close to my brother, I'll do this. But he was in his own thing, and I was into my own thing. So I was like, okay, I do music. He does his hustling stuff, but
Yeah.
more toward he hustles like clothing and stuff like that. He was in the streets too, so I watched him. That's how I ended up saying I could follow the same path because it's my older brother. So so he was in the streets, and he moved into clothing. You know what I
How
mean?
much older is he? He's what?
7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Gotcha.
7 years older than me. And so following that, I was like, okay, I could be good at this stuff too. You know what I mean? But we, like I said, we all have our own path, you know, and the way that he did it is totally different than I did it. You know? So I was working for this company, this little warehouse, you know, I was working for a warehouse, and I wasn't making much money at that time. And I wanted to do my music and all this stuff, and I was like, things aren't working. So I bought me a little apartment, and I'm telling you, I wasn't making any money. Like, check was going to one thing, and the other check was going to another. Like, at the end of a 2-week check, I would have like $34 one check, and then like 100 and some change on the next one. So I was like, I need to make some money.
Yeah.
So the first thing I know is how to go back to what I was doing in Denver. So I start, you know, hustling again and start moving. I start building it up real quick. Something about me is I know how to hustle really fast and make things go from nothing to something really quick. So I went from making like I said, $100 and something a week to about $600 a day, moving up to $800 a day. And now I'm doing like $2,000 a day, just trying to do that type of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
But things moving too fast, you get caught up. So I ended up going to jail again out there. And as I was in jail,
So this is in Vegas, right?
Yeah, this is in
and
Vegas.
Then you're how old then?
by then about 30, something like that.
Got
about
it.
30-ish,
Okay.
you know.
Got it.
And it was around December 12th, 2012. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I went to jail. And in there, that's when God came to me. You know, and I wasn't looking for him. Trust me, I wasn't. I hate to say it that way. I was not looking for God, because I was in there just like, and it's funny, I never tell you guys, 2 weeks, I was having this dream that I would be in there. I would be in jail. I didn't understand what it was. I would just be in line, talking to people, getting a tray to get food. And I was like, what is this dream? It was reoccurring for 2 weeks straight. Then that day it slipped up. It showed me where I was going to be. And then I was like, man, I had this dream. I was going to be waking up 4 o'clock in the morning getting a tray to get some food. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because in there, they wake you up and tell you what to do. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, never had to get breakfast at 4 o'clock in the morning before and spend my day doing this. Well, not like that, because the trouble that I got into, I knew I was going to be in there for a while. You know, so I would always ask the COs in there, when am I getting out of here? You know, do they know what's going on? I heard no word for the first 2 weeks. I was nothing was going on. I was like, I don't even know how long I'm gonna stay in here. I don't know what's gonna happen. So one day I was talking to this one guy, and we were just talking about the Jamie Foxx show or whatever, and it happened to come on TV. So I sat down and started watching it. But the same guy I was talking to, he ended up leaving me there and going to talk to this other guy. And as they were talking, as I'm watching TV, I can hear them talk about God in my ear, you know, and I'm just like, okay, I'm not paying attention to that. That has nothing to do with me. That's their conversation. So as the guy gets, you know, as they're going along, I'm watching the show, and then the guy that introduced, that I was talking to, he left that conversation. The other guy was like, hey man, what you in here for? And I'm looking up, and he's like, I know you hear me. And I'm like, what? You know, I look over, he's like, yeah, I'm talking to you. And I was like, oh, I didn't think you was talking to me. I thought you was talking about God. You know what I mean? He was like, yeah, God told me to talk to you. He said, what you in here for? So I told him what I was in there for. He was like, he looked me dead in my eyes and he said, you know what? It's something about me to tell you this. He's like, not to say that you're not good at what you do, but somebody's going to kill you. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's not that they're jealous of you. It's just the way that you move. You move faster than the average person. You do things that nobody else can do when you're doing it. And I was like, I don't understand. I'm doing the same thing everybody else is doing. You're hustling, I'm hustling. He said, but the way you do it really quick. You go from nothing to something real fast. And I go, yeah, that's me. You know what I mean? Like that, you know? He says, but besides that, what do you do besides that? And I was like, I do music. You know what I mean? I was like, I rap and I do, I make music and whatever I do. He goes, oh, that's what you should be doing. See, when you talk about that, you light up. He said, I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. That's cool. Mm-hmm. And then, but he was like, the other thing, you should figure out how to get out of that. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. He was like, you ever thought about going to school for music? And I was like, nah, never. That's not something I really even like doing. I don't even like school, And so he was like, you should look into that when you get out of here. And I was like, man, I don't even know when I'm getting out of here, so I don't even care about what you're talking about now. Mm-hmm. So then I go back and mind my business, start watching TV. Later that evening, there was a guy on a bunk across from mine, and he had a book in his hand. He's like, hey, man, you should read this. And I was like, I don't want nothing you got. I was trying to stay to myself, like mind my business. He's like, no, read this. Just check this out. And I grabbed it, and I look, and I was like, it's the Bible. He said, yeah, read a couple scriptures out of it. Now, mind you, this dude, he was getting ready to go to prison. And I was like, but it was something about him. He was like real cool. You know what I mean? And I was like, all right, I'll sit here. I've just read a couple chapters, like just a couple chapters out of it, just, pages and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, all right, thanks. And handed it back to him. He said, did you get something out of it? I said, yeah, I did. And that night I went to sleep. I had another dream of the people that I was hanging out with. I would no longer be hanging out with them. And I was like, oh, I don't understand these dreams like that, but I know something's gonna happen. Yeah. The next day, as I'm getting up, I'm getting myself together, shower and everything, it's starting to get late, I get a call from my lawyer. He goes, by this time, it's Christmas Eve. I get a call from the lawyer. He goes, you got court in the morning. I was like, okay. Cool. Maybe they'll finally tell me what's going to happen. So I'm waiting all day to go to court, and so I got to wait until that day is over and then in the morning. So I get my call to get up. And I'm like, okay, I get up early in the morning. I go down this. I talk to the lawyer. He goes, all you have to do is plead no contest. And I go, I never did that plea before. It's either guilty or not guilty. But I'm like, I trust in you. So I'm like, okay, cool.
Do you know what that means? I don't know what that means.
It's like you're not innocent nor guilty. Okay. You're just in between. Mm-hmm. So I go down. The judge reads me everything. He reads me everything that's in the report. We talk about it, and he goes, how do you plead? And I say, no contest. He goes, okay. Well, with that said, I'll be talking it over with your lawyer, and he'll be getting back to you. So, all right, cool. So I'm done. Go back upstairs. I'm like, they still didn't tell me when I'm getting out of here. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm here, and now I'm stuck.
So you're there from the 12th to the 25th? Yeah. At that point. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just like, it's Christmas. I'm just like, I'm in here. And something comes through the wire. They're talking in the cell. They're saying, be that it's the holidays, Vegas is overpacked. They have to reduce some sentences. People are getting out. I mean, people who are supposed to be going to prison aren't going to prison. They're staying there because their sentence got reduced. All these different things were happening, and I'm sitting there like, oh man, what's going to happen to me? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My lawyer calls. He goes, you'll be out today. And I go, what? I was looking around like, God, you must be here or something, And I'm not, like I said, I'm not some super religious or anything at that point or thinking about God or anything. But from those two things, it just showed me that God was in that room with me, talking to me like, you don't belong here. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there like, okay, I don't belong here. I know I don't belong here. Mm-hmm. I know I got to get out of this. So after I get out of jail, it'll be about 11 o'clock that night. They tell me to roll up because all day you wait and sit there and like, man, when I'm gonna get out of here? You said today. So it's about 11 o'clock. I get released. I go downstairs. And normally you're supposed to get some kind of probation, some kind of class, some kind of something. And I go to the window to get out of there, and I'm sitting there waiting. And the lady's like, this is all that you have going on? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, okay, I'll be right back. And she comes back, and I go, so is that all? And there's this guy behind me going, psst, hey. And I turn back. He's like, get out of here. Go. Don't ask no questions. Go. And I go, thank you, that's it. And then walk out, you know. Oddly enough, as many times as I've been in trouble, I've never caught in a felony for the things that I've done. And they're major things that I don't want to put on record. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I'm so thankful that God's been watching over me. And I know it's him, you know. But at the same time, in that time there, I was sitting there saying, all right, man, I got to get back to getting my money, you know?
Yeah, you didn't know what to do after.
So I get out of there and go right back to the same thing. Okay. Like it was just me that got me out of there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in my heart, you know, in my soul, I could tell God was there, but I was being stubborn, you know? And so I went back to the same thing. But in my head is that guy saying, you should go to school for music. You know, you should go to school for music. But I'm still trying to hustle and figure things out. I meet this girl about a couple months later, and she's like, we were talking, I showed her my music. She's like, that's cool. But have you ever thought about going to school for music? Because you might end up doing something different than what you're doing. And I was like, what? I'm a rapper. I don't want to do nothing different. I don't want to be a DJ. I don't want to be a manager. I don't want to be a producer. I don't want to be none of that. She's like, you should try it. And I was like, thinking about the guy, like, okay, yeah, he's saying I should go to school for music. So I told her this. I didn't think she was going to do it. So I was like, all right, you live in California. You know, this is just a weekend thing. You're out in Vegas. I'm just hanging out with you. I said, you find me a school, I'll come out there and check it out. So she was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I'm not taking her serious. I'm just like, I'm minding my business, doing my thing. A week later, a friend of mine calls me and says, hey, man, you ever went to school for music? I'm on the phone with this dude. I told him you go to school for music. And I was like, I've never went to school for music. Nah, man. He was like, oh, I thought you did. And I was like, no, I didn't. And so I think the same week the girl calls me back. She was like, I have like a list of schools for you to go to. It's like MI, LA Film School, SAE, some other stuff. And I'm like, oh, you were serious? She was like, yeah, I told you I got you. I was like, oh, this is serious. I guess I'm supposed to do this. Mm-hmm. Mind you, I had just went back to hustling, and I got a lot of stuff to get rid of. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I was like, God, if this is meant to do it, I said this. I said, God, if this is meant for me to do, I'll get rid of this quicker than everything. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, I got to a point I just started giving stuff away, like here. And then I went down to check out the school, and I liked LA Film, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. I went back to Vegas, packed up everything, and in that same week, you know, I was like, I'm leaving. The same week I got back, packed everything, and I was like, I'm out. But I had a little bit of weed left. You know what I mean? And I was like, I'm gonna sell this and get rid of it and get gone. And I had put it in my U-Haul, and I was like, okay, I was gonna drive across the street, drop it off to this guy, and get out of there. Mm-hmm. I take it, I get over there, I go to drop it off. You know, I'm in there talking for a minute too, and I'm in there talking to him like, yeah, man, I'm about to go to school, I'm about to do all this stuff. And like I was telling you guys, it was like the ending of a movie. You know what I mean? Where I was coming out, and as I was coming out, the FBI, the DEA, the ATF, they were all suiting up, and I could see them putting their little jackets on and stuff, and I'm walking out, and everything just slowed up at that moment. Like, my heart just started beating, racing and everything, and I'm looking at them like, oh, not today. You know what I mean? Because I still had a little bit left, and I'm trying to get out of this place. I just want to get rid of everything. I just want to go. And as I'm walking out, they're walking in. So we walk past each other, and I look at the FBI agent right in his eye, and he's looking at me. And he could have been like, yo, let's check your U-Haul. Let's see what you got going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He could have said anything, and we just look eye to eye, and it's just like, he looked at me like, nah, it's not him. You know what I mean? And I'm looking at him like, nah, it's not me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, nah, man. But he's looking at me dead in my eye, you know, just like you looking at me right now. And we just walking past each other in slow motion. And from there, man, I jump in that truck, and I'm like, thank you, God. That's all I said. I was like, thank you, God. I'm ready to do this. And from there, I drove straight to California and started school, and haven't looked back since then. And haven't dabbled in anything and messed with anything. I'm just like, you know what? That was my chance to get out, and I used that to go to school and learn that, you know, at this point, rapping wasn't for me. I ended up becoming a music producer and engineer after that, and a music manager. I've been managed artists and all kind of stuff since then. And it's like, it's so funny that the guy in jail told me I should go to school. The girl told me I'll be something different. And it's funny, I fell in love with the stuff that I never thought I would be into. I ended up being a DJ. Everything that I said I didn't want to be, I am now, you know? So it's like, that's funny. So you never know what path you're going to go on, especially if you just have faith that, you know, like I said, as small as a mustard seed, right?
Yeah.
You have just a little bit of faith, it will take you a long way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what I did. I was just like, you know what? I'm not super religious, but I know that there's a God and he's got me, you know, and I know if I believe just a little bit that my life can change to something great. Yeah, we all are going to go down different paths. Yeah, we're going to go through some troubling times, but you got to have a relationship with God to where you could just talk to him and just, you know, just hand it over to God and really hand it over to him. You know, that brings up another thing. Like I was saying, you know, I would always say, I would always say, you know, God, I'm gonna let you take the wheel, but I'm still holding on to it tighter than ever. Like I'm saying you got it, but I'm trying to direct it where I want it to go and how I want it to go, and things will fall apart, and he'll let it fall apart because you don't believe in him. Mm-hmm. And I'm just watching things fall apart, and I'm like, and it's funny because the first thing we want to do is blame God. As saying, I thought you had me. I thought you, you know, I said I'm gonna give it to you, but you letting this stuff happen. But he's like, not me, you are. You say you give it to me, but you still trying to be in control. And that's me trying to be in control until I told you where I was like, God, I'm really letting you have it now. I really let go of the wheel, and I'm just going. Mm-hmm. Wherever you tell me to go, I go. Mm-hmm. And out of nowhere, Frank hit me up after almost a year and some change. He hit me back up and say, I need you. And I'm like, what'd you need me for, Frank? You know, to come run the studio, come do the studio and everything, help him get it in order. And I was like, I got you. And everything has changed from there. Since that point, now all I do is get in the car and go. That's the only control I have. Other than that, I don't try to say I'm gonna, I got to do this first, then that, then this, then that. Nope, I just go and let God take the wheel for real.
Yeah.
And everything has been amazing since then.
Yeah.
Everything.
That's so cool.
Life changing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That is cool. Yeah, the studio is really cool. Mm-hmm. The music studio.
Yeah. We got the music studio. We got the podcast area, you know. We got the great film team that makes sure the podcast looks cool, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crazy how everything was set up. Before we were here.
Yeah.
You know?
When we first started putting this thing together, You know, just being the guy at Guitar Center. You know, after it all, I started working at Guitar Center, and you know, Tom comes in to try to look for the smallest things. Well, he said it was going to be small. He didn't tell me how big it was. He was just saying, I'm going to put together a little studio, you know. And I'm like, a little studio? Oh, yeah. Well, then all you need is this, that, and the third, you know what I mean? And he goes, no, I'm going to need something a little bit bigger than that. And I was like, oh, yeah, we got this. And no, I'm going to need something bigger than that. I was like, well, we don't have that here, but I do. I have it in my, I have it in my storage. You know, I was like, he's like, yeah, man, I'll talk to my guy and I'll get right back to you. And I was like, all right, cool. Let me know. He hit me up before I was even off work, probably about 2 hours later, like, yeah, I'm going to need that. And I was like, okay, so I got to run to the storage and pull that out and unwrap it and make sure it's all cleaned up. And like, this is what you're talking about? He's like, exactly, Frank.
What is that called?
That's the mixing console.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was like,
I think it's huge.
yeah. I was like, yeah.
How long did it take you to learn what every button does on that thing?
To learn? Going to school for engineering, you learn how to build that thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so learning those knobs, they all do the same thing, except for the middle part, where you see the red and yellow.
Yeah, okay.
Those actually control what everything does once you set it in the knobs. So you have your, you have your faders, your panning and all that. You have your EQ and compression and everything. And then there's the ones that's below that actually sends everything. So if you think like there's a bus and a send, right? So if you think like what a bus does, when you go sit on a bus stop, you get picked up to get sent somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you're taking the bus to something else, and that's where you're gonna send on the bus to somewhere else. That's what it is.
I think, how much is that? How much is that worth?
About $5,000.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't touch that thing. That's
Nah,
not my amp.
nah.
He's like, nah.
You can't break it, man. You can't break it. It's to be touched. It's to be messed with. You know what I mean? People are hypersensitive about the things that they use. Like, oh my God, don't touch that, don't touch this. It's just like, man, you can put it right back to where it was. You know what I mean? Have fun. You know what I mean? That's like having a playground in the backyard and don't let the kids play on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All they could do is go to the window and watch.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Ooh, that'd be a nice swing to swing on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's the same thing, man. Turn a knob or two, man. Move some faders.
What
Exactly.
about that one? I want you to tell that when you were setting this up and you were trying to always figure it out, and then you're just like, God.
Oh, yeah.
And you like,
Oh,
it was just one simple thing.
So when we first pulled this thing in, they had already had it set up. I used to come over and like at least once a week and try to help Tom put this thing together. We were pulling wires through the wall, putting them back through the wall, connecting this, that, and trying to get everything working. We were getting sound and we weren't getting sound. Then we were getting things working and wasn't getting it working. And then finally it's all set up. So then I get over here in the past weeks and I was just like, okay, everything sounds good, but it's not coming out of the console. And I was like, what's happening? What is it? The volume's up, because I learned my lesson over and over. At the end of the day, you put everything together, but it's always the volume that's down. You're like, this thing, I know it works. It's not working. You put all this energy in. You spend about an hour doing all this stuff, and then you go, oh, the volume control. And you got to turn it up. But that day, it was just like the volume was up. All the knobs were where they're supposed to be. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? The speakers are on this, and I look over here at the interface, and it was just moving the plugs from the input to the output, and everything started working.
Just one little thing.
Yeah, everything started working. I was just like, but it's funny because I did say, God, told you I'm just letting you take it. Yeah. And I was like, what should I do? And that's when I went over there and pulled it and plugged it in. It was just that simple. Yeah. Take them out of one thing, put them in another. And I was like, well, I guess that's what you told me to do. And everything turned on, and it's been working since. So, yeah.
That's cool.
Wasn't it like a crazy amount of time trying to do the other things before he told you to do that?
Yeah, we left this thing to go on for about a year now.
Oh,
like, I came in the other day. It was like it's like the first day I came in and I was just going through it. Like I was like, man, Tom said they redid the board, so it should be easy. And I know it was working one day I came and I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. And then I was sitting here by myself and I'm on the phone with Tom and I'm like, okay, this is not working. This is not working. It's not working. I don't know what's going on. Okay, this is on, that's on, this is on. And I go, God, like I said, I had that conversation with you. It's on you now. And I go over there to the output, and I'm just like, what if I put this here? Unplug, put them in, press play, everything came on. I was like, look at that. It's so simple.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta pray about it. You gotta talk to God about it, and He'll lead you in the right way, right where to go. And it's simple sometimes.
Yeah. Simple.
Yeah, it's simple.
Cool.
I feel like he always wants it to be simple.
It is.
Yeah,
I feel like we overcomplicate things because we try to put ourselves in the way. We try to do things ourselves, instead of like
just get yourself
Albert. You said like you a lot of you guys, all you guys, for me, you guys show me a lot of things, and Albert says it the most, like iron sharpens iron, and he goes and he says, I just pray about it. I was like, how do you write your songs? I pray about it. And in the conversation I have with God, the lyrics come out. And I'm like, I never thought to do that. You know what I mean? And the things that guide you is just a simple prayer, a conversation that you have with God. Could be just to lead you where you go. Me, God, where should I go with this? And leads me right to the plug. And I'm like, man, it's always been this easy. You know what I mean? I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, why has my life been this hard? But it's because I wasn't at all. I had no faith. Let's put it like that. And it's funny when you are in a circle of men like you all who have a lot of faith in God, a lot of belief in God, and you see a man like me come in with just a little bit, and it's just like how much God is like, go there every day. I could have been still back on my same path, like, yeah, Frank, I'll come in and do this today, but I'm gonna do my other thing, And every day, God wake me up at 7:30 in the morning now. Every day at 7:30, like, you got a place to be. You got a place to be. Mm-hmm. You need to be there. Mm-hmm. Normally, I'll sleep till 9:30, 10 o'clock. Every day at 7:30. All right, I know it's you. Get up. It's time to wake up. And normally, I'm all tired when 7:30 come. I would be like, oh, no, I don't want to get up.
I remember the first day we met you. You almost didn't come.
Yeah. That was that second day. The second day, I came the first day because I was excited. I got up all early. I came in. I started, setting things up. Everything was good, and I was like, okay, it was all set up. I guess that's what he needed me for. Make sure everything's running. It's running. God wakes me up the next day, like, all right, time to go back. I'm like, wait a minute. he's like, I need you to be there for something, and because Frank was like, yeah, you should come check out the podcast, and I was like, okay, I'll think about it. I was like, okay, I'll come, but in my head, I'm like, I'll think about it. I might not make it, and God, like, I need you to see something, and so I came in and I sat through that podcast, and then you guys showed up, and I was like, oh, there's another podcast, and then I sat through this one, and I was like, this is the one that people need to hear because this is the one that you guys actually, talk about how your experiences with God and how you came across God and how it led you to the Word. And this is basically how I'm getting closer to God, is just by listening to Him every day, waking up and coming here and having conversations with Albert and having conversations with you guys and, and Tanner and Frank and everybody here. It's just, it's bringing me closer, It's not in a way that I always felt where people were forcing it on you. I don't like to be forced, When you grow up a certain way, when somebody try to force you to do something, it's like, well, I'm my own man. I have free will to say yes or no. I don't need you to try to pressure me or make me feel guilty for not wanting to choose the route that I want to go. You know, if I feel guilty for something, I don't think that's right for me. You know what I mean? No matter what, you know, here it's just like we welcome you with open arms. When you walk through the door, you walk through the door on your own. You know, it's not like, hey man, you gotta come. If you don't come, you can't be here no more. Or you can't, you know, we're not gonna talk to you no more. Or, you know, we gonna stay over here in our clique and talk to ourselves, and you know, he ain't ready yet. You know what I'm saying? It's not like that. It's just like we're gonna keep talking to you about it. We're gonna keep making it easy. We're gonna make you feel like you're welcomed. You know, and
well, thanks for saying yes to
yeah,
this.
yeah.
Thanks for saying.
And now this is like, it's just exciting to wake up every day and feel like this is where I belong. This is where I belong. And I've been in a lot of studios and around a lot of people, and you know, and I know a lot of people, but it's not that. I always say it like this: I might know a lot of people, but they're associates. You know, they're not friends and they're not family. You know, they're just people that you come across, and you might see them every day, but you know who your family is and you know who your friends are. You know, friends are limited. Family is limited. You know, because not everybody who's family is family. They're just relative. You know, so.
Yeah, Jesus says, what does Jesus say when he's talking about, he says
a lot of things.
You got a whole bunch of stuff.
When he's talking to, I think he was, I don't remember where, but he was saying that those that, maybe Albert can help me, but he's saying those that believe are my brothers and sisters.
Who are my mother? Who are my brothers?
Exactly, yeah. So those that believe are my brothers and my sisters, and you feel, there we go. Those that do the will of God, and that's what it is. And it's like everyone has like a measure of faith. So even if you had a little bit, it's still just as much, because all you need is a little bit. All you need is a mustard seed. So it's cool.
Yeah, and it's like I'm not to cut you off, but it's like I've never been so excited to come to a place where everybody is in fellowship with God and have that different walk of life with it. It's like usually, like I said, it would deter me. I'd be like, I don't know about all that, man. I don't know what they're gonna be trying to get me to do or try to say or want me to be roped into. But here it's like it's on my own will. I wake up every morning saying, and recently I just started waking up like every morning. Right now, it's just I have a Bible verse that pops up, so that's my getting closer, you know, and that's thanks to you guys, because trust me, I have never done it, and now every moment since I've met you guys, that's my daily bread. You know, I wake up, read my little scripture that pops up, and I hop up and get my day started, and I'm over here to get going, and I feel good about that. I feel like that I get excited about it. I'm like, you know. What's going to be the next scripture for the day? You know, I've never been like that excited. And you know how apps are now where it's like Duolingo or something. They give you these badges of credit. I'm not looking for that, but it's like, because when I start highlighting my chapters, like, ooh, you get your badge for highlighting. I was like, oh, snap. Lord. No, but seriously, it just, I have a newfound acceptance for God, you know, and I'm thankful that I was able to be a part of all this, you know.
Yeah, we're thankful for you too.
We didn't put this together.
It's all these guys who put it together. You know, we're a team, and we want things to grow, and we need people to see more that you can have your walk with life. You know, you may have your walk with life of whatever it is, but God is always there. You just have to stop and talk to him, take a deep breath, and just say, God, you know, guide me, you know, and, you know, I know you're here. Just acknowledge. I say just acknowledge. Like I said, I don't know the scripture. I don't know the word, but I know me having a conversation with God as if it's another person in the room with me changed my life.
Yeah.
You know, you know, and that's how I look at it. You know, I say, look, you just have to have your own relationship. You just have to be comfortable with that. And that's what I believe. Just be comfortable with how you perceive you should do it, you know, and everything else will fall into place.
Cool, Henry.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came on, man.
Thank you
Glad you
guys.
came
Thank you for
on.
having me.
Yeah, of course.
We out.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, yeah,
He knows how to-
that's why he's the studio.
Yeah.